I've been talking about sabr, sabr, sabr. So how do we understand sabr? What would we say means that there is sabr? Sabr is that when we are tested, and now we understood that we are tested with different things, tested with things that we love, tested with things that we care about, tested with things that we hold precious to ourselves, tested with things that we take pride in, tested with things which we feel affectionate to, whether they are from our lives, our own lives, from our loved ones, from the ones that we care, or from the achievements that we have managed to gain in our lives, in our businesses, in our work, in our education, in other aspects. Allah would test us through these things that are close to us, that we are passionate about, that we are possessive about, that we take pride in. From those things, Allah would test us. And when that test comes, at that point in time, there should be neither anything that we say from our tongues, which is against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, against the Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nor through our actions do we do something which is against the Sharia or the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sabr means that when the calamity, when the loss of health, when a trial, when that feeling of uneasiness, when that disturbance, when that so-called depression comes on to us, at that point in time, we accept it as a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not react through neither in a negative way, neither through our tongues, nor through our actions, Realizing that what has happened to me has happened to me out of the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If Allah had not wanted it to happen, this would not have happened to me. An easiest way to understand this, or to make one understand this thing, whatever we are having, if we don't have any friends, we are feeling lonely in life, then I don't have anybody to go to talk to, I don't have a spouse, I don't have close friends, I'm mostly by myself. If at that point in time, if we are feeling we have lost in business, we have suddenly find ourselves in a lot of debt, at that point in time, in crucial moments like these, the easiest cure is to remind ourselves that I, as an adult, would never put any pressure on a child more than what that child can bear. I, as a human, would know that on this child I cannot put more pressure because this child cannot take more pressure than this. I would be mindful of that. Allah, who is Rahim, who is Kareem, who is Rahman, who is Rahim, who is Ghafoor, who loves to forgive, surely will not put on me pressure that I cannot endure. He will surely not put me in a situation that is beyond what I am capable of handling. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised that. He has promised that we do not burden a soul more than what he can take. La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wussaha. Allah does not put more burden on us. And if we find in our situation, which is overwhelming, which where it seems that the world is collapsing around us, which seems कि अब मेरी बस हो गई है, then remind yourself that I am in this situation because my Rabb believes that I have it in me to endure this. It is now my job from here on to find that strength of endurance, because otherwise Allah would not have put me in this situation. And when we do that, we stop blaming. We stop blaming circumstances. We stop blaming people. We stop blaming situation. We stop cursing our own qismat, our own taqdeer. We stop saying things, oh, hai meri badqismati and stuff like that. Because we know that this is a test and Allah has only put me in this test because I can endure it. And once you realize that, when you come to terms with this fact, you feel very strong. You feel a great strength within you, because now you know that actually I have special powers in me. Why else would I be facing with all of this if I didn't have the power to both take this on? And then when you are being patient, because now you're not saying anything, from your tongue, nor are you doing any action which is against the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is with you? Allah is with you. Inna Allaha ma'as sabirin. And when Allah is with you, guess how much your powers multiply? Endless. Now you have the support, you have the power, you have the guidance, you have the strength, better than anyone else can have. Better than anyone else can have. This is what Sabr brings. This is what Sabr has the power of giving. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the reward that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept with Sabr, Allah Himself says, is that it's without any accountability. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives to the ones who does Sabr, there is no account of it. There is no check on it. إِنَّمَا يُوَفَّ الصَّابِرُونَ أَجْرَهُمْ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. Certainly those who observe patience will be given their reward in full, without any measure. Without any measure. Ajib. We do Sabr and we get reward without any measure. There comes in a hadith that when a person falls sick and he is now bedridden, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the order to His angels that the ahs and oohs that are coming out of his mouth now, note them down as him saying Subhanallah. And if out of his pain he is shouting, note it down as him saying La ilaha illallah. Give him the reward equivalent to saying that. And with every breath that patient is taking, give him the reward of doing charity in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the reward that patient gets for just lying down on the bed and sleeping in that pain is the reward of him as though he is standing on the musalla and praying at night in tahajjud. And the turns that he takes, when he turns and twists in his bed because of the pain, Allah gives him the reward of as though he is turning and twisting in a battlefield against the enemy of Islam. That's just the reward for being patient when you're sick. There comes in another hadith that a person who is unwell, who is sick, if he recites 40 times La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minaz zalimin, if he recites this 40 times in his illness, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if he recovers from that illness, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by the time he is recovered, would wipe away all the sins from his book of deeds. He would have recovered from that illness as though he had never sinned. And that if he dies because of that illness in which he recited this 40 times, on the day of Qiyamah, he would be raised among the martyrs. He would be raised as a shaheed. Sabr is of three kinds. Sabr is of three types. There is sabr in obedience, meaning that the things that we have to endure or go against our will in submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Waking up at night, in the middle of the night, in a cold night, doing wudu with the cold water, standing for salah, going to the masjid in the bitter cold of winters or bitter heat of summers for the Zuhr and Asr prayers, staying hungry in the month of Ramadan and all those things that we spoke about, taking out your wealth, spending it in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the things that we do not want to do or logically should not be doing, because logic says don't go out in cold, logic says make sure you get your sleep, logic says 1 + 1 is 2, 2 - 1 is 1, right? The things that we won't do in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which are even logic defying, and we remain patient in that, we endure them, we do them, that's sabr. That's sabr in obedience. Then there is another form of sabr, which is sabr from sin. Yeah, we are humans, we have desires. Lust is a part of us. It's not something that comes from outside. It's within us. Anger is part of us. Jealousy is part of us. Backbiting gives us, I don't know what kind of dopamine does that release, but it does. Right? People want to backbite and they get a lot of pleasure by gossiping. But these are things that Allah has prohibited. We are asked to guard our eyes, we are asked to guard our ears, we are asked to guard and protect our tongues. When we do that, that's sabr. That's sabr because we are not doing something which gives us pleasure, even though it may be momentarily pleasure, but we are doing sabr. We are holding ourselves back from indulging in things which everybody else may be doing around us as well. That's sabr. And we get the reward of all those rewards that we spoke about from both of these sabr. And then there's a third kind of sabr, and that is the sabr in trials, the tests that we have already spoken about. So understand that there is sabr in obedience, there is sabr from staying away from sins, and there is sabr in trials, and all of these things are there.